With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible, we called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Siebel.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Again, this radio station, this podcast station is brought to you by SitchRadio.com. It's an amazing place for me and my guests or whoever to kind of tell their story. This is their opinions. This is their life. This is what happens. It may benefit somebody that's dealing with PTSD. It may benefit somebody that's a veteran going through some processes. Whatever that might be, whatever that might mean to you, that's what it is. It's our stories. It's our ability to kind of tell those stories, and what it means to us. And even though we may have had similar places, done similar things, the feelings, the emotions, everything might be slightly different. But we have some camaraderie and some great people that come on here to talk about their story and talk about what they're doing. And I have Justin Roberts on with me. Justin Roberts is an awesome guy, good friend of mine. We go back to Warrior Built doing some off-road stuff and him wanting to be involved in filming some veterans going to the Baja and doing some things and the reasons why they do it. But he has some amazing stuff in front of that. No Greater Love follows his unit that was in some of the worst situations and some of the most casualties, to include when they got back, to the suicides, to everything else that goes involved in that. And he did a film on that, No Greater Love. And now he's doing some post shows, and he is in Ukraine. He was up on the front lines in Donbas doing some stuff, filming some things, getting some great things. So we'll bring him on. Justin, thanks a lot for being on here.
What's up,
Talk
man?
about this.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's an honor to be here.
Hey, thanks, man. What an incredible thing for you and I to be in, for one, to be in Ukraine at the same time, and then for you to show up in Lviv. And I just happened to be in Lviv and getting married to Vika, and you did our second ceremony, because the first ceremony was done by the marriage place, but we did this really cool ceremony, and thanks for doing that. Thanks for blessing our wedding and our life, and I appreciate it, man. So, that's another piece that some of you guys don't know. It's just like some incredible things that happen. But yeah, talk a little bit about everything that you got going on, about your service in the Army, obviously as a chaplain, all these things, what that meant, and we'll take it back a little far, and then we'll catch everybody up.
Yeah. So to kind of begin about myself, I am a former Army chaplain with 101st, and then 2nd Cav was my second tour. But while I was in Afghanistan, I put together a documentary called No Greater Love, and I just filmed on the front lines, and it was a story about the lessons I learned from the soldiers that I served with. And while I was in Germany, I worked on that film a little bit. Then when I got out of the military, released that documentary, and did a film festival tour with it. Screened it before the White House, before Congress. Then it went out theatrically, and then it's now on Amazon Prime, and that's called No Greater Love. And then after that, put together 2 other films. One of them that's still in post-production, the Baja film, which is just about how do you come home from war? Like, who are you after you leave the military? And that's a difficult transition that a lot of guys struggle with, a lot of soldiers struggle with. And I'm just now finishing up. We're actually in the later stages of post-production, a documentary about military chaplains, and currently called Forgotten Country. I don't know if it's going to stick to that title or not, but that's the current title. So we finished that up. We actually partnered with the Chaplain Corps on that. And it was during that half, while I was working on that, then my home got hit by a hurricane, Hurricane Laura, and completely devastated it, along with most of the community. And then followed by Hurricane Laura came Hurricane Delta. And so smash, double smash. And so I flipped the cameras on, and I started putting together a series about disaster relief, who are the heroes who were stepping out, called Do Good. And the concept behind that was to put together a web series and then donate the monetization of views to those charities. And so we started filming that. We're 3 episodes into that, but then talks on syndication started and moving it up to television. And then the war kicked off out here. And so I talked to the family and said, we need to these are the stories that we need to be telling. This is where the most pain, the most hurt, and most suffering is happening. And this is where we need to be. So we put together a very small crew, and then we came to the front lines, and with 2 objectives, really. The first, to tell the story about the war, what is happening from the front lines, the heroes who are stepping up, to this fight, because this is very much an international fight. These are international volunteers who are coming with very little pay, if anything, and a lot of risk. And so we wanted to cover some of those stories and the stories of the heroes in the Ukraine military. And so I spent the last 6 weeks filming in Mykolaiv, the Donbas, kind of trench hopping, and Kharkiv in the gray zone, which is just like a World War I devastated territory, and then Dnipro, with military hospitals and the children's hospital. So capturing those stories. And so then I came back to Lviv after all that to do the writing and kind of start putting the pieces together. And then that's when I got your message, man. And yeah. So that's everything.
Yeah. So, we had some great time. I mean, we went out to lunch when you came back to Lviv. I think you were there maybe one day or so, and just trying to figure everything out there. But, we sat down and talked, and you had a chance to kind of see a good portion of Ukraine and how the people are and all these things, right? A lot of people have questions. A lot of people are maybe, hey, isn't it like Russia? Isn't it, aren't these people like this? This is this. And I would say that this is a free nation, that these people are just living their lives, or they're family orientated. They're doing everything they can to just kind of work and do their thing and stay. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah. And it's like, and I've been to Russia. So that was back in like early 2000s. And this feels so different to me than Russia. I mean, just the atmosphere of it, the people. Culturally, it does not seem the same as Russia. I would say like Ukrainians are more optimistic and more entrepreneurial. Just the way that they're approaching life is very different. They feel like they can go out and build something for themselves. And also, it's like everybody was very warm, very hospitable, out here. And so I've absolutely loved it. And this is no diss against Russian culture. It's just that the atmosphere that I've experienced has been very different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't spend any time in Russia, but I spent a lot of time in other parts of the world, and to see, a lot of people might be confused as to why we would support something of this nature versus something in the African places or other places on the planet that, it's like comparing, raising a daughter and a son. Each one's going to respond to different things, right? You can't treat them equally necessarily, although you do, but you have to give different things to different people, because that's the response that you're going to get.
Yeah. And it's such an interesting, and I think that's a Russian talking point, that a lot of times their propaganda is not necessarily to say, try to get the audience to say no to this. Most of the time, Russian propaganda goal is just to get people to question this, to ask these other side questions. Well, why don't we do more stuff in America? Well, why aren't we doing it over here? Why aren't we? It's like, so it's kind of like the way, like the devil doing Adam and Eve, in that the story of Genesis, like whenever they said, well, God said we can't eat of this fruit. He's like, and we'll surely die. He's like, did he really say you will die? So he's asking, trying to get you to create those questions. And that's so often what propaganda is trying to do, is like trying to just get them to pivot a little bit, rather than saying, no, it's not that way. It's, are you sure? Well, why not this? Why not that? And I absolutely think we should get involved if Russia invaded Africa. I absolutely think we should get involved if China invaded Africa. We were talking about a massive army, a massive conventional force coming in and slaughtering people. Yes, yes, we should. Now, should we get involved in every conflict? No. But we do get involved in a lot of conflicts whenever human atrocities are happening. So it just seems like it's a distracting question rather than one that's really bearing all the facts, when people bring that up.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that even in our own country. You're watching the news. I feel like I used to watch the news and really appreciate, a lot of the news. Like it just seemed, and now I have to like question it. Now I have to be like, okay, I understand it's saying this, this, and this, but what's the purpose? Where's the respect in here? Yeah, you have to decipher a lot of different messages nowadays, more than ever before, I feel.
Yeah, I think there's a really good book. I can't think of the author right now. It might pop to me a little bit, but it's called Three Dangerous Men. And what the author looked at was the movement of propaganda, which gets titled under irregular warfare. And there was an interesting pivot with Russia after its fall. At first, they tried to keep up with us conventionally. They tried to spend as much as we were spending. And Ronald Reagan just ramped it up, our spending. And Russia tried to ramp it up too, but they didn't have the economic infrastructure to keep up with us. And their system collapsed. So they saw this. And then they started asking these questions like, well, we want to be a great power. And for us to be a great power, we have to be able to compete with America. But we cannot compete with them against conventional warfare. But even if we did compete and win, and let's say we get into a fight, that means if we win this game, the entire world is destroyed. So is it a game that we even really want to play? Because even if we win, we lose. And chances are we can't win. And even by trying to win, we lose. So they started looking for a second option. And that became irregular warfare, propaganda. So they started spending billions of dollars pumping into the propaganda system. And they became phenomenal at it, at controlling their own people, but also at trying to achieve their, political objectives. Separate the UK from Europe, which they did that. Separate the US from the rest of the world, which has been somewhat successful in just getting the world to hate America and America to not really want to play with the world anymore and not be involved, which then opens up that breathing room, that window of opportunity for Russia then to instigate operations like this one. So it's not just Russia, it's China, Iran, but the author interviewed Gates, McRaven, McChrystal, Petraeus. I mean, like a lot of the guys that we were working for when we were in, and just some brilliant
Right.
minds. So it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely worth considering because nobody likes to think that they've bought off on propaganda, but when you are stating the same exact talking points as Putin is telling his own people, you need to ask a second question. You need to question your sources. Because if you're stating and I've seen this on LinkedIn as responses to some of my articles that I've posted out, these same exact talking points as Putin. Like, where are you getting that from, bud? Where are you getting your news from? And how much you can't tell me that billions of dollars of marketing isn't effective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all great points, and thanks for sharing that, because that's an awesome like way to kind of describe exactly what's going on, right?
Yeah.
You just have to. I mean, you obviously get to take a look at it from being there, right?
Mhm.
You've been up there on the front lines. You get
Yeah.
to see, how the people of Ukraine are. You get to see this whole thing, and then you get to watch the news about the Russians. And as I'm pretty close to this as well, being that I
Mhm.
was there for a year, and then I moved across after the Russians crossed the line. I had to leave. But, it's nowhere near what Russia was saying, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, it's like
so it's
I was
pretty
in,
amazing.
I was in Kharkiv, and I was staying at a hotel that was run by just a sweet, sweet couple who are part of the Jewish community. And I kept getting messages from friends like, aren't they Nazis? I thought I heard Ukraine has Nazis in there. And so I was like, this is amazing. So I just actually turned my camera on and I interviewed the hotel owner. And I was like, what about all these Nazis that we're hearing about? He's like, Nazis? There's no Nazis. There's not Nazis here. We don't have a Nazi problem. And he's like, we're Jewish. We're in the Jewish community. We would know if there was a Nazi problem. And I was like, that's such an amazing thing. You have like these guys, who are listening to these alternative news sources, and nobody has ever thought to actually ask the Jewish community in Ukraine if there's a Nazi problem. The people who are pretty good at finding out. And but yeah, I mean, it's the way it currently is. I mean, and this is just the people that I'm only just going off with people that I'm talking with, that the people that I'm encountering, and this is what they're saying. So there's been this hard push to try to paint a narrative for justification of war based on that one issue. And nobody has thought to ask the Jewish community throughout Ukraine what they think, or the Zelensky, who Jewish, by blood. So
Right.
Yeah.
So what are you filming right now to capture mostly? What's the storyline that you're really looking for?
It's really it's getting eyes on what are the frontline sacrifices, both with the military and the civilians, and what is the nature of this war. And so
I think I might have lost you a little bit there, Justin. I don't know if he's frozen for everybody else, but he's frozen for me. So
there we
hopefully,
go. I'm back.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Yeah, just film what's going on in this war from the lines, and it's mostly refit. So trying to film incoming, as it's a short film, and it'll part together. So it's getting into the trenches, getting into the thick of it, and then capturing the stories of courage, valor, and coming. So
Nice.
And then I have I'll take to put that together. And I'll be into a syndicated series called Do Good, which will be about 20 different nonprofits, 20 different episodes on 20 different nonprofits who are the heroes who are stepping up to make a difference in Ukraine.
Oh yeah. And you have a list of a lot of the nonprofits that are right now in Ukraine doing that.
Well, we're putting that together. So that's what we're going to be doing over this next month as well, is kind of outlining our targets, because it is hard to know exactly who we should be supporting and what is going to be the best bang for the buck whenever somebody does donate, that knowing that their donation dollar is going to make a difference. So there's a lot of international charities that have huge budgets and big marketing power, but we don't see them at the front. We don't see them in the trenches. So who are the organizations that are in the trenches, that are at the forefront making a difference? That's who we want to focus on.
Yeah, that's something, when I talk about everything that I do, is like, hey, I want to be considered where the rubber hits the road with the organizations that I talk about or that I help. Or there's so many organizations that are doing really good things, but there's a lot of them that are doing some really good marketing and are doing some things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that they're that bad, but that it's almost misleading. It's almost like this, false news, but it's not,
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing something, so they get to say that they're doing that. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, you're doing some amazing things, some stories, this, and that. I've even been asked, who's doing this, and kind of do a quick little loop for it to kind of put it out through different organizations that are doing stuff, Project
Yeah.
Refit, and some other guys that are like, hey, we want to make sure we kind of focus on some organizations that are doing good stuff for the Ukrainians. Do you have any in mind? And so I'm still looking to find some research on some of that and really hit some.
The first person that I hired onto my official team is a refugee from Mariupol, and she escaped with just the clothes on her back. She came and stayed with a friend here in Lviv, but she has 20 years of international humanitarian aid experience. And so when I started talking with her, I was like, "You're the person," because she's smarter than me, and she has a master's degree in economics. But also, she has a dog in the fight. She is upset with a lot of these organizations because she's not seeing, all the support and care that some people are talking about. And so I have found one of the most critical people I can at who wants to really dig into this stuff. Like, hey, these are the organizations that we need to be supporting. This is where the money is going to be actually getting to people like me. Like which from her perspective, like my people who are refugees. So she is a fighter on that, and that was like the perfect person that I could find. And so I feel like I'm just really blessed with the right people showing up at the right time. And then the moment that I need them, they show up. And then, God knows that I'm not very smart, so He surrounded me with smart people to help this mission along. And that's what we're going to be doing. So over the next, actually this week, we have to start defining what organizations we think are going to be the best fit for what we're doing. And also we have to do them in broad categories because we're not going to do like two homeless organizations, two food organizations, it's basically like with each category, a different organization and a hero within that group is our story. And so that's what we're going to do.
Nice.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean that only the ones that we're highlighting are the only good ones, but
Right. It's the ones you're going to focus on, how you kind of capture them, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah, man.
And this is obviously local talent that you're hiring to start working on some of these projects. You also went there with two combat vets that one Army, one Marine that helped you navigate through the territory and get some film done. And luckily they're back home right now with their families for a few. Might join you again. So I just want to mention that because it's really incredibly awesome what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're a combat vet yourself, obviously dealing with some of the crazy tragedies, of No Greater
Yeah.
Love that you did that movie. And in the show notes, you can find that if you want to look at it, it'll pop it up. Check that out because it's an incredible thing. It's one of these things that I've talked to you about over the years that I haven't been able to bring myself to watch, it's because it's that real for some of us combat vets that it's no longer kind of this thrilling show, but it's more of a reality check into something I've already lived through. And so it's sometimes really scary to involve myself in some of those things. And it's weird because there's not many things that I hold myself back from, but that's as real as it gets. And it's so awesome that you put that together and it means something. And it,
What's kind of funny is I became the scariest man in the military when I made that movie because I could strike more fear in guys' hearts than anybody else. And I was like,
because it's the reality of it.
You think you're a badass? I can make them shudder in fear because it's real, and because it is
Yeah.
hard, it is heavy, and that is the truth. Like I did screenings at military bases, and man, just seeing the fear in guys' eyes, I was like, oh, it's coming, isn't it? And then the tears came too. And that's what we try to hold back from, is there are layers of reality that are difficult for us to face. And when we face it, we're so afraid of the breakdown, because the breakdown can happen and it's messy. And so, like, when this came out theatrically, I got reports of guys just heavy crying, heaving, heaving. And so that's what they're afraid of, is not so much just doing that too, but also doing it in front of other people. And the only thing that is scary about me is the truth, but it's scary. And that was the funniest reality to me whenever I came out with a film, because I knew it was going to be hard. And hell, I'm facing that shit too, and that was hard. But if I didn't face it, what are the consequences? And that's what. So my suggestion to people is, get somebody or get some families. If you're going to watch it on Memorial Day. And if you're not ready to watch it, don't watch it. But this is a piece of our past that we have to process. And I would never say avoid processing it. If this is the type of medicine you want to take to process it, that's good. But that's all it's supposed to be. It's just a medicine. And yeah, like that. My suggestion usually is Memorial Day. It's a good day to watch it, make peace, and then move on.
No, it's good. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there for the audience and be like, hey, you might see me and Justin like up here laughing and really kind of smiling about the things, but the psychology of what that entails is like, it's a very deep conversation between two combat vets that we're talking right now. And we can have this kind of conversation because we're relating on a scale that's very rare. You watching this, you're invited to a table that very few are able to sit at. And I mean that because we wouldn't have the same conversation necessarily at Denny's or sitting down at some restaurant where people would not be able to they would hear us talk about death or this movie with all this destruction and the suicide afterwards.
Yeah.
And the scary part of that Justin made this film, but it's an award-winning film. It's such an incredible thing to even know about and hear about. We'll laugh, but in all seriousness, there's a lot of emotions behind that smile that aren't necessarily what you think. So don't get confused if you're watching this and be like, hey man, those two guys were joking it up. It's it's a comedy. It's
I had one producer ask me, "Is like, well, it's so sad. Is there a way to not make it so sad?" It's like, it's a war, man. What do you want from me? It's like I'm going to make it a musical.
Yeah, war's sad, and as I watch the news, as I watch the stuff that's coming on, it's very sugar coated. It's like, hey, this many, this many Iraqi, this many this many Russians died today. This many Ukrainians kind of died today. They shot down a helicopter.
Not names.
And you see it. There's no names. It's really a weird way of kind of processing it and sugarcoating it for the masses. But behind that, there's like blood, sweat, and tears. There's buddies that are going through this process, and to really dig into that, I mean, Justin really does it justice. So, I'm just putting that out there, and I want to put it out there. This war too is very, very deep. Every day, this thing's going on. This is the number 2 military on the planet fighting in Ukraine, who's at this point the number 1 military. I mean, I'm just gonna say they're still the number 2, even.
Like the whole
even
point
in Ukraine.
Like everything that I do, the whole point of it is to humanize the situation and the people who are in it. So the whole idea behind No Greater Love is to humanize, or to allow audiences to see these soldiers as people, my friends, and to help them get to know them as friends and to understand their hearts of why they serve. And so I'm attempting to do the same thing here in Ukraine, to humanize these people so people understand the horrors of what is happening and the reality of it. And the only way that I can actually fully do that is to show them, to show them this reality, what's going on. It doesn't work unless you get up close and show them the truth, and you know, um, help them understand, like, the way that this artillery is coming in and these rockets, an entire grid square is deleted, and all the people in it. And so it's understanding how horrific this is. It's not like the small arms engagements. It's just, it's a long range war, but whenever it hits, it just wipes everything away. And the tragedy of that, and so but I'm a strong believer in democracy. I believe that, when I was serving in the Army, I wasn't just serving my country, I was serving democracy, this idea. And so I'm not doing anything really different than I've done before. I'm doing the same exact thing. It's like, and over here too, I'm still doing chaplain work, and it's helping people, serving people, telling stories in order to try to help people. And that's still like my life's purpose. I'm just extending it past the military. And yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, well, it's really cool, Justin, because to see you still in the the environment or the camaraderie with bringing these other two guys that are going there filming with you, you're saturating yourself still in a military type lifestyle. And I can relate to this because this is what I do. This is reaching out to combat vets every day, talking to them, seeing what they're doing in their lives. But it's still awesome to reach out to you or find you somewhere doing this cool thing that's still related.
Yeah,
We're not serving active now, but we're serving on our own terms in our own ways, making a difference some way, somehow. And you still being a chaplain, you marrying me and Vika. I mean, that was it's crazy cool. I never thought that would, of all places.
Yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out to the guys that I brought with me. Hank Barb, who's former 82nd Airborne flight medic, and his song had just broke the top 100. Like, he's his lead singer for a rock band, Three Beards, best band ever. Please go listen to them, Three Beards, and their song just broke the top 100, and then they just released their second album. And so he had all this amazing stuff in motion. And I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to Ukraine if you want to go." And he said, "Sure." And if that is not like the greatest type of friend you can have, I don't know what is. But he put his life on pause to come and support me. And so that's a brother. And then
Three Beards is doing some music for some of the other productions you've got.
I try to pull the music. Right? They've got the music videos out. They're doing shows, and they're getting their lift off now. And then he had to actually fly back to do a show for 40,000 people at a big event, and they had already pre-planned. So you've got this veteran who's just doing phenomenal stuff, and is just a good friend. And then Steve, who is an actor out of Los Angeles, but prior service, combat Marine, and also was born and raised in Ukraine. When he found out that we were coming out, he jumped on board to be a camera guy. And so that we were just the three amigos kind of running around in combat and, going out to some of these places. But I mean, bringing a medic with you, yeah, it's a good move. And combat Marine, yeah, it's a good move. But it is so much easier for me to travel with people who have that kind of experience in these zones, because there's no fear, there's no worry. They're smart, they are aware of their environment, but they know how to operate in this environment. So I didn't want to bring fresh faces with me. I wanted to experience, and so it was one of the best teams I could bring. And they were good to go. They operated amazingly, and we navigated better than we were working with Ukraine military, so we were able to move to the front, get to the front with ease. Whereas other reporters were getting stopped at checkpoints because they'd be told, no, it's too dangerous for you. then since we were working with Ukraine military, they're like, yeah, go ahead. You're stupid, but go ahead. And then we'd go forward. And so it was good, though. And so we got some rare footage and access that not a lot of other reporters got. And, we really were blessed by that. And the reason that the Ukraine military trusted us to do that is because we were prior service combat vets. So they knew that with a lot of the journalists, journalists are dying here, and the Ukraine military is trying to prevent that. But that means that they have to hold them back because they don't realize what they're getting themselves into. And then it's done. So almost every place that we went to, we were told, and it got to be like a dark joke, but it was like, oh, reporter died here yesterday, so be careful. And then we go to another place. Oh, reporter died here last week. Be careful. And we went to another place, and we're like, did somebody die? Yeah. How did you know? So, but that is reality here. And they're getting in too close, or they're going into a place and they're not realizing you're going to get hit, or they stay static in a location. And this is not like a small arms fight. This is a fight that you have to be moving every 5 minutes, because the second that drone pings you, they're going to be calling for fire on your position. There's some 11 Charlie out there somewhere, Russian 11 Charlie, who's like, he's getting his mortar system ready. He's waiting on that drone person to tell him where that vehicle parked. So you got to get your stuff, and then you got to get gone, and then move into the next place. And you have to park in a place where your vehicle is not going to be seen. So it's just some kind of like battlefield awareness things that you have to kind of know, so that way they're not going to be dropping stuff on you. And a lot of these journalists didn't think about it. They didn't know it. And then, tragically and sadly, bad stuff happens out here. So, yeah. And then meeting some of these veterans like you out here has just been awesome. That's so random that we actually got to meet in Lviv. And then, yeah. What was your first thought whenever you saw I was out here?
You know what? You try to follow. I mean, I try to follow a lot of people on Facebook, right? And I don't know. I saw the algorithms don't allow you to see everybody's stuff all the time. So, I finally see that you're in the trench and you got a selfie and you're like talking about something, and I'm like, what? That's awesome. And so it was cool too, because I was like, and then I hit you up, I was like, hey man, I'm going to be, I just want to say hi. I kind of hit you up on Facebook. I responded to it because I don't see everybody's algorithm of, hey, I'm doing this today or that today. You don't see your buddy's stuff. Like when Facebook first started, you were able to see your friend's stuff all the time. It was like always rolling, and the next guy and the next guy. But Facebook has really kind of taken that away. So it was good to see you line up like that. And then I told Mark Doucette. Mark Doucette was the he was basically he's the race team for Warrior Built that does the bug team. And so I hit Mark up and I'm like, hey Mark, I'm gonna meet up with he goes, hey man, Justin Roberts is doing some stuff out there. And I go, yeah, I'm gonna meet up with him, man. He's like, he's gonna do your wedding. I'm like, yeah. So it was cool. Some of these guys could kind of anticipate the things that are going on without even knowing about it. It's like weird. So it was really kind of cool to know that. But what's really cool is because I've been through those areas that you're talking about. Some of them.
Yeah.
I've taken some vacations. I've been, I've been down on the Azov Sea that you can't go to now. And I left from Sumy and had to go all the way across. So a couple of times, obviously, to fly out and fly back. I've done that a couple of times, and this is way before Russia was going to attack. So I was just thinking about you. I was like, wow, man, you get to see some of these places, and a lot of people won't. But you're going to have it on film. You're going to have this thing captured, and it's going to be really cool. And I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you. I'm really honored to know you.
Thanks, man.
I know you got some stuff lined up you got some writing to do for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Again, I know you got 5 weeks, but I think you're down to 4 now. But you got some interviews too. Do you want to talk about a little bit about what you got coming up?
Not too much. Like I can't reveal.
I know
some of the bigger stuff. But it's going to come in powerfully because it's just like filming with military stories. There's substance to it. There's power to it. It's a historical moment, and capturing the heroes who step up. I think that's the best thing that I can do. That's the best gift I can provide, because I'm not much with a rifle. Nobody's going to trust me to drive a tank ever. But the best way that I can support is by telling their stories and making sure that they're not forgotten. And so this is this is going to be a unique thing, and I think that this is something too for the veteran community to connect in on, because these are brothers and sisters who are fighting for democracy too. And so, however we can support them, we need to start thinking internationally on this fight for democracy and where it's threatened, and start looking at them as not just foreigners in another country, but brothers and sisters who are fighting for something that we believe in too. And I think that that is going to be the next evolution, for us as veterans.
Yeah, it's something that I bring up just real quick. Capitalize on that is I wasn't alive in 1775, but our country, United States of America, had to fight it for its freedom during that, and I can only contribute it to that because America is such in a big freedom bubble. Most likely, we'll never have to know what it's like to have another country come in and try to tell us what to do, because everybody's armed.
Yeah.
Ukraine was not everybody armed, but they got everybody armed for the most part now. But they're basically fighting their war of 1775. And Ukraine as a free country is only like 30 years old.
Yeah.
So, and Russia walked in on the 2014. They walked into Crimea. They didn't really have to shoot a fire, or they didn't have to fire a single round, and took it.
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine does not want to give up any more of their property, and neither would you as America. So it's one of those things you got to really kind of think about, but you can't really fully understand it unless you're there.
Yeah.
We weren't there in 1775. The infrastructure is already built for America. You're as free as you can be, you know. But you get to see some stuff in this kind of situation that is sad and super awesome, super incredible to see them when they take their country back, to see the love that they have for each other and for fellow man, and to see that these guys are working all the time. Everybody's working, everybody's doing their thing, because if you don't work, you don't live. They don't have a social network that America has. So, Justin, if you want to finish up with any last thoughts, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, please put that out there too. We'll put that on
Like
blast as well.
the best way to keep track of me is to follow our series Do Good, which you can find on social media platforms, YouTube, pretty much any social media platform. Do Good Army, and so just search for Do Good Army, and we'll usually pop up. And then, just be looking for the next film that comes out. We've got Live Free, and then we're going to have the syndicated series Do Good coming to a TV near you.
Nice. Well, Justin, I definitely hope to get you back on in the future. We'll talk some more about some incredible things that you're doing, and how you're finishing up, where that's looking like it's going, and some of the more incredible stuff that you're working on too. But hey, much privilege to have you on my show, and to have you marry me and Vika, and all the cool stuff you're doing for the Ukrainians. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hey, this is Aaron Siebert, lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round April 2006. Hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is where this is where I or anybody else that comes on the show gets to talk about their opinions, their things, what they're seeing, how they're living their lives, whatever that might be. But hey, till next time, strength and honor. Out.